We are on Lamed Vav Amud Bet 36b at the top line. Ibaya lehu, a question. Hatoreh mishelo al shel chavero. Tzarich da'ato o lo? Okay, so we last time we spoke about da'at. If you do something with the knowledge of someone else. So, and also, let's say if let's say a korban doesn't need the person's knowledge, then even if you're assured to benefit from him, but if it's something that you don't need knowledge for, it's not really so valuable, so it's okay. But here, so with that in mind, here the case is here where you're supposed to give teruma to the kohen. Teruma is 2% of your produce to the kohen. Now, let's say, okay, I just had a harvest. And my friend also had a harvest, and I know my friend, he's out of town. I said, you know what I'll do? 2%, not that much. I'll give 2% for my stuff for him, for his field. He also had 100 pounds of wheat. I'll take 2 pounds of my wheat, and I'll give it to the Kohen, and I'll cover him too. I'll cover my 2 pounds for me, and I also got 100 pounds, and I'll cover another 2 pounds to the Kohen. And this is for 4 pounds total. This is for my friend. Okay, so, hatorem mishelo al shel chavero. A person takes teruma from his stuff for his friend. Tzarich da'ato o lo? Does he need to know or not? Does the guy need to know? Meaning, do I have to tell him in advance? By the way, I'm going to take teruma for you. When you go away, don't worry, I'll take care of the teruma. Or does he not need? Like, is it okay if I do it without his knowledge? And then even if he finds out later. But at the moment, he doesn't have knowledge. Can you do it with his knowledge? Does it have to be with his knowledge or even without his knowledge? Mi amrinan, do we say, kevan de zchut hu lo, since it's a zechut for him, it's a merit for him, lo tzarich da'at, he doesn't need knowledge. And as the Ran points out, a famous line, de zachin le adam shelo befanav. We could do, people want good things coming their way. So you could do something good for someone else, like you could assume that he wants it because it's something good for him. So it's called zachin le adam shelo befanav. You're allowed to be zoche for someone, not in front of him. Let's say I want to give this watch to Eli, right? So even if Eli's not around, I can say this now belongs to Eli. So the ownership transfers to him, even though he doesn't know about it. Why? The assumption is people want good things. We assume this is a good thing coming to him, and he would have accepted it if So therefore, from now already he accepts it. That's what I do with the bar mitzvah gift whenever we give it on Shabbat. I already said because you're not supposed to do transactions on Shabbat. So, but beforehand, if you already say, "Oh, this is for the bar mitzvah boy," you lift it up and then you transfer ownership to him already before Shabbat. It works because there's a concept zachin le'adam shelo befanav, even if it's not in front of him. So over here, if it's not in front of the guy, you're doing teruma. He would say, "Wow, thank you so much. I appreciate that," and it works. O dilma, or maybe third line down, or maybe mitzvah dilehi. It's his mitzvah. And he wants to do it. He wants to do his mitzvah. Meaning, when it comes to items, you could say, okay, fine, I'll take that item. You give me a book, you give me a watch, whatever. Okay, fine. But for a mitzvah, I'd rather do the mitzvah myself. Thank you so much. You covered the 2 pounds for me. I wanted to pay for the mitzvah. I want to do the mitzvah myself. So do we say that because the guy wants to do the mitzvah himself, it doesn't work, and you need his knowledge?
Knowledge or permission?
Knowledge with permission. I mean, it's. I think it comes together.
Okay.
So which side is it? Can you do it without his knowledge or with his knowledge? Tashma. 4 lines down. Come in here. Torah. Now we're going to try bringing a proof from our Mishnah. A proof to this question. Toremet terumotav vet maserotav lidaato. This is talking about when someone says, "I don't want to benefit from you, Reuben," and you're still allowed to do the teruma for him, but lidaato, with his knowledge. Now the question is, what does it mean with his knowledge? B'mayaskina, like what's the case over here that it's with his knowledge? You're like this guy, you're not speaking to, or you're not benefiting from, but you're allowed to do the teruma for him with his knowledge. So what's with his knowledge? Ilema, if you say. And this is the little aleph there adds the words from the Bach. Ilema mishel bal hakeri al bal hakeri. Kri is the pile. So If you say min bal hakiri, so there's a few options over here. We want to get to what's the case? Is the case the way I explained it? My first case was that I'm taking from my £2 and I'm covering his. So he had 100, he loses 0. I'm taking from my £2. That's why I explained the first case. So we want to go through different options as to what the case is. So the case number one is, what does it mean that now I'm not talking to this guy or I'm not benefiting from him, but you're allowed to do terumah for him with his knowledge? What's the case? Elim, if you say that it's from the Baal HaKeri, from the owner of, it's from the items, the 2% is from the owner of the pile, we'll call him Reuven, Al Shel Baal HaKeri, for Reuven. So, meaning, Shimon, know he's out of town, I know Reuven's out of town, he didn't have a chance to do Terumah yet, I go to his field, I take £2 from his field, and I give it to the Kohen, to make his rest is 98 kosher. Because we know that if you don't do the terumah, it's called tevel. You're not allowed to eat from it until you do this. So I Shimon take the 2 from the min bal hakeri al shel bal hakeri, from the owner of the pile for the owner of the pile. So maybe that's the case. Okay, uleda'ato deman, and then what does it mean according to his knowledge? Whose knowledge? Ilema leda'ato dileh man shavia shaliach. If you're saying that it's according to the knowledge of his knowledge, Reuven's knowledge, did he make him a shaliach? He didn't. Meaning, Shimon, I go into this field and I'm taking £2, 2%, giving to the Kohen for him, and now this is all good. But you have to do it leda'ato, according to his knowledge. Whose knowledge? If I'm saying according to Reuven's knowledge, so he didn't know in this case to appoint me a shaliach. So how could I do that without being a shaliach? Dile man shavia shaliach. Sorry, this is the dat of Shimon. If it has to be according to my knowledge, that I know what I'm doing over here, who appointed me as a shaliach? Ela leda'ato de Baal HaKeri. It has to be according to the knowledge of the owner of the field, the owner of this pile. But if so, hakamehanile de ka'avich luchuteh. He's benefiting from him because now he made him into his shaliach. Meaning, if there's 2 options. If the option is, because the Mishnah said leda'ato, what does it mean that you're giving the terumah for Reuven according to his knowledge? Whose knowledge? Is it my knowledge, calling me Shimon, that I know what I'm doing, that I am taking this 2% for Reuven from Reuven's stuff? If so, who made me a shaliach to do such a thing? Now, if I say, okay, well, it's according to Reuven's knowledge. If it's according to Reuven, now Reuven knows then if Reuven knows, I'm benefiting from him, or he's benefiting from me. We have this non-benefit neder among us, so we can't benefit from each other. So how is this working out? Ella, the case must be mishelo al shel Baal HaKeri. It must be, as the case that I explained before, that I Shimon, take 2% from my stuff for Reuven's stuff. Ela mishelo al shel. So we're trying to get to a case where it's not going to infringe on the neder, and we're going to see from there at the end an answer to our question if you need knowledge or not. If you could do it without his knowledge, or it needs knowledge. So rather the case must be, because in the 2 options that we gave, how could you make him a shaliach? And if you know and you make, and Reuven, you know and you made him a shaliach, he's benefiting from you. You're not allowed to benefit from each other. Ela mishelo. Rather the case is mishelo, from his own stuff. Shimon's taking from his own stuff to cover for Reuven. Al shel hakri, al shel Baal HaKeri. For Reuven's stuff. The Reuven is the owner of the pile. Uledato deman. So who's the one that knows what's going on over here? Because it says with his knowledge. With whose knowledge? Ilem ledato debalakri. Hakamanile. If you want to say it's the same thing, the knowledge of Reuven, he's benefiting from him. At the end of the day, he got a benefit over here from Reuven's stuff. And you can't benefit from each other. Ela lav ledate denavshe. It must be from his own knowledge, from Shimon's knowledge. Umishelo torem al shel chavero. And so what's happening is like this. Reuven doesn't know anything over here. As the case that I explained, Reuven knows nothing over here. Shimon sees that Reuven still has to do teruma. He says, you know what, I'm going to cover him. And he doesn't know anything. I know. I take off 2% from my stuff. I'm the one that knows, and he doesn't know anything. He's totally in the dark, and I cover for him. V'hi amr tzarich dat hakamehanile. So that ela lav ledate denavshe. Umishelo torem al shel chavero. He, Shimon, is taking the teruma on his friend's thing, he's taking his stuff for his friend Reuven. V'i amrat, and if you say tzarich dat, if you say you need knowledge, if you say Reuven needs knowledge, hakamehanile, then he's benefiting him. Elalav answer dat. So you see from here, he doesn't need dat. So we want to prove from this whole story that in our Mishnah, when we said, even though you have a neder among each other, that you can benefit from each other, you could still do teruma. What's the case that you could do teruma? The final case is that I, Shimon, take from my own stuff, give it to the Kohen for Reuven, and he doesn't know about it. And therefore, in a certain way, he didn't benefit. Now, the Ran talks about, well, he did benefit, he just saved 2%. That's how as we saw Hanan's opinion, that it's just like pushing away the which I didn't get so clear, because at the end of the day, he benefited from him. We said Hanan has an opinion that it's like pushing away the creditor that's coming after you, the Kohen's coming after you, that 2%, you just pushed it away from him. So, what's happening though is it's not considered like a full benefit. So we see from our Mishnah that he doesn't need knowledge, and therefore we're trying to bring a proof to our original question. When you do teruma for your friend, does he need knowledge or not? We want to bring a proof from our case, our Mishnah, that you could do it without him even knowing.
If he doesn't know, and he does his harvest, he can't benefit from it because he didn't give the 2%.
So we're saying that at that moment he didn't know, and then obviously later we tell him, but
so he knows.
So he knows. He knows eventually. But the truma works at that time. From that moment, it works.
So eventually somebody has to tell him.
Yeah, well, I guess or else then he's going to always not benefit from his stuff because he's going to think that he didn't give truma or whatever it is. Yeah. So then. Unless another option is, I don't know if we use this option, the guy's not religious. We know he's not going to take off truma, so let me take off truma for him. And even if he doesn't know, at least he's not eating in sin. He's eating
that makes more sense, that one.
Yeah, but we don't like to give examples of, even the Gemara doesn't, sometimes it comes up, like, Hani Rishi, are we dealing with the Rishayim? Are we dealing with people that are not going to do the mitzvot? Like in all the examples, we have to assume that everyone's doing the mitzvot properly. So that's why it's not such a good answer. Okay, so this is maybe a proof that he doesn't need knowledge. Answers the Gemara. Leolam, really, the Gemara is now going to refute this and say like this. Really, Mishel Balakiri al Balakiri, Kedama Rava. Rava is going to say like this. That really the case is that where's the case where you could give teruma for someone else. The case is that Shimon's taking Reuven's stuff and giving it to the Kohen to cover for Reuven. We said he's benefiting. Kedama Rava beomer kol harotze litrom yavo v'yitrom hachanami beomer v'chulo. Basically, he's saying like this. Rava says Reuven was going on vacation, let's say. And Reuven, he just did a 100-pound harvest. He needs to give 2 to the Kohen. He doesn't have time. The Kohen's not in town. He says he's got to go out of town. He says, whoever wants to do truma for me, please go ahead and do the truma for me. So now, the guy that he doesn't talk to, the guy that made the neder, he steps up, he says, I'll just do it for him. And he does the truma. So in that case, it's not like he's benefiting him, because really, I opened it up to the world. It's for anyone to do it for me. So you went and did it, you're not benefiting me, because anyone else could have done it.
The Kohen is benefiting.
The Kohen, he's at the end of the day, he's the biggest beneficiary.
In your example, though, he said, I gotta go away. Whoever wants to do it for me, do it for me. If nobody steps up,
If no one steps up, then no one does it.
Then what happens to his stuff?
Right. No, his stuff still remains his.
No, can he benefit from it, or he can't benefit from it?
He can't until he takes
But how
it.
does he know?
So when he gets back home, he'll know.
Oh, and if nobody says anything, or what?
Then yeah.
Yeah.
לעולם משל בעל הקרי על בעל הקרי כדאמר רבא באומר כל הרוצה לתרום יבוא ויתרום. Anyone that wants to come and do the truma, come and do the truma. Hachanami באומר, and so therefore over here as well. So therefore we're saying over here is the case is that Shimon took off the stuff for Reuven, for Reuven stuff, but Reuven made that announcement, and therefore he's not benefiting him, and therefore he knows that maybe someone will do it. And therefore, we don't yet have a proof to our question. Our question was, can you do the truma with his knowledge, or does it have to do with his knowledge or without his knowledge? We don't. We tried to give an answer from our Gemara, from our Mishnah, that it's even without his knowledge, and Rav says, no, it could even be with his knowledge, because he makes that announcement, but you're not violating, though, the issue of the neder, and therefore we yet don't have an answer for this. Gemara continues. Ba'amine Rav Yirmiyah mirav Zera. So the Ran brings an interesting thing. So if the guy would have said, whoever listens to my voice, you could come and do the truma. So that's limiting, because it's really only people who can hear his voice. The first thing is anyone that wants to come and do the truma. So even if a guy flew in from Florida and he heard someone say, anyone that wants to do the truma can come and do the truma. So that's really anyone. But once you're limiting anyone that hears my voice, then it's a smaller scope. It's not everyone. And now you went, then it's kind of called a benefit, because there's anyways a limited amount of people that would do this, because he limited it to anyone that can hear my voice. That's a side point that the Ran brings up. Okay. Ba'amine Rav Yirmiyah Rav Zera. Rav Yirmiyah asked Rav Zera this question: Hatoreh mishelo al shel chavero, tovat hana'a shel mi. So if a person takes from his stuff for his friend, who gets the tovat hana'a? So what is tovat hana'a? Tovat hana'a is the good of the benefit. It's a literal translation, but what it means is as follows: 2% goes to the Kohen, right? So let's say I'm the owner. I have to give the 2%. I can't benefit from this 2%. 2% has to go to the Kohen, or the 10% maaser has to go to Levi. Now, but the only thing I do have is what's called tovat hana. I get to choose which Kohen I want to give it to, and that has some value to it, right? Because what happens is like this. Now let's flip the thing. Let's say Claude, he just made a big harvest. You have 100 pounds, and you have to give 2 pounds to that Kohen, right? So you get to choose whichever Kohen you want. I said, look, Claude, I'm not a Kohen, but I got my grandkids are Kohens. The grandkids could be because my daughter married a Kohen, right? So I got my grandkids that are Kohens. Look, you could choose any Kohen in the world, any Kohen in the city, and you go in the world. I want to give you $100. Give them to my grandkids, right? So now you have a benefit from this choosing of where you want to give it to. So there is some sort of benefit.
$100. Do I give $2
to the? You could never win, right? Exactly. So that's a good one. So now Rav Yirmiyah asks Rav Zera a question. Hatoreh mishelo al shel chavero. Person does the truma from his hatoreh mishelo al shel chavero. He's torn from his stuff for his friend. Tovat hana shami. Who gets that tovat hana? Because what could also happen is, let's say you give it to the Kohen. You say, "Wow, thank you so much. You chose me. I want to thank you for choosing me. You could have chosen so many Kohens. Here's a little gift. Here's a $10 tip because you chose me." So now what happens is, if let's say I do the favor for my friend, this guy went out of town, and I'm going to do the truma for him. I know it's a headache for him always to find the Kohen. The Kohen's in town. You know what? I'm going to give his 2% to this Kohen that came to town. The Kohen says, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Azulai, for giving me the thing. Here's $10. But really, it was his stuff. But I gave it to that Kohen. So I chose the Kohen, but it was on his stuff. Who gets the $10 benefit? Who gets the extra little benefit? That's what the question is. So Rav Yirmiyah asked Rav Zera, "Hatorem mishelo shel chavero." It took from my stuff for him. So I did my stuff for him, or his stuff for him. Tovat hana ashelmi. Who gets that tovat hana? Who gets that little extra benefit? Mi amrinan. Do we say ilav peri deheach mi mitakna karidahu? Yeah. So the case is here. I take from my stuff for his field. Yeah, that's what's going on over here. I take from my 2% for his field. So one could say, well, I should get the benefit. It's my 2%, right? That I'm giving for his field. But the other side is if he wouldn't have had a field, he would have no field. I would have given that 2%, and I wouldn't have had a benefit. It's only because of his field that I get this $10 benefit bonus. So how do we look at it? So mi amrin, do we say ilav peri deheach?
No, that's not.
Mi mitakna karidahu. If I didn't have fruits to give the 2%, could I have fixed this field? I couldn't have. I didn't have any fruits. So the fact that I did have fruits, that $10 tip should go to me. Or maybe ilav karidahu, without his pile, lo havian peri dehadan teruma. The fruit of my fruit wouldn't have done any teruma over here because he didn't have a pile. So it's only because of his pile is there now the mitzvah over here of truma, and that $10 benefit should maybe go to him. How do we look at this? So he asks this to Rav Zera. Rav Zera answers, Amar Kra, it's a pasuk. Et kol tevuat zaracha v'natata. The pasuk says, Aseret kol tevuat zaracha. Give 10% to all of the produce of your land. That comes out of your field every year. Okay. So, et kol tevuat zaracha v'natata. All of the produce of your field, and you gave it. All the produce of your field, and you gave it. So this is talking about the produce of the field. So it has to do with if there's a field here or not. That's the bad thing for divorces. I don't know, someone's getting divorced. If they're calling me, that'd be someone from the
Or maybe it's what's his name giving the guy the get.
the story.
Are we recording?
What?
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I just remembered.
Yeah, all the jokes too.
Is us.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, we're recording. Yes, we're recording. If Rabbi Shocha was calling for you, I'm sorry.
We're really sorry.
Yeah. I found out sometimes where people, like, from the community or whatever, people, so he calls me, because he always calls, like, you know, like, what? I didn't know this person's gay. I call the person, he's like, yeah, Rabbi. I'm like, come on, fix it up, figure it out. You know. Anyways, so they bypass the rabbi. They already go to the Bet Din, they bypass there. They don't want to talk to me about it.
They don't want you to fix it.
They want to just, yeah. Et kol tevuat zaracha v'natata. So Rav Zera says there's a pasuk. All the tevuah of the field, and you gave it. So it has to do with the tevuah of the field. So therefore, it's the balakri. It's the owner of the field.
That gets it?
The owner of the field that gets it. The owner of the field that gets it.
Not the person who did it.
Right.
As a compensation for actually doing it.
Tala netina beval hazera. Yeah. So the Ran explains. Look at the Ran, the first widest of lines. So the last word of the line before tala hanetina, the giving is talui is dependent beval hazera, the owner of the field, the owner of the wheat, of the seeds. The hainu balakri, which is the owner of the pile, because the pasuk says tevuat zar'acha v'natata, the produce and you gave. So it has to do with the owner of the pile. So it's the owner of the pile that gets that extra bonus.
Maybe if Shimon gave it from his own, Shimon gets the benefit, no?
No, that's what we're saying over here. Because if there wouldn't have been a field
Yeah.
for truma, there wouldn't have been a transaction.
But if there wasn't been somebody that takes it from the field
Yeah,
to give it,
you're
there
right.
wouldn't
That's
have
the
been a
two
transaction
sides.
either.
You're right. That's the two sides how to look at
You
it.
know.
So
And not only
Rav
that,
Zera says it's a
not,
pasuk.
not only would there not have been a transaction,
Right.
but the whole field would have been no good. It would have been bad. You can't benefit from the field if you don't give the 2%.
Right, is this situation exactly the same situation? For example, you are making some company purchases from your credit card. So
Okay.
it gives the miles or whatever the benefit the card gives.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Yes, yeah, the points.
The point.
Whatever.
It's a person who does the.
It's a
All right,
person who does
it's
the
my
points.
card, but I'm paying for that.
Yeah. This question came up. Yeah, it goes to the guy with the guy that. lays out
Yeah, I
the
think
money.
that's where it's supposed to
Yeah.
go. Can I allowed to disagree with the?
No.
can I-
But the truth is that in this specific case of truma, that's where there's a pasuk. The pasuk is by truma. It's the giver of the. So maybe you could deduce from here that in other cases it's the guy that had to pay the money. When it comes to truma, there's a pasuk. A pasuk is golden. Whatever the Torah says. The Torah says we're connecting the guy that gives to the owner of the field. So specifically in the field case, truma case, it goes with the field. Maybe then, therefore, other cases, the money cases, it doesn't go with that. It goes with the
Is
guy
there
that
another
shells
way-
out the
Is there
money.
a way of finding out that? If there's another
Not
similar
from
case
right
for-
here. Not from right here.
So how
Someone
would we
did
go
ask
about
me
it?
that question. I did research it, and it is the guy that puts out the credit card. And I mean, and the question was further was like if he knows if he doesn't know I'm getting a benefit from it, meaning the guy says, look, okay,
Pay for it,
you
pay
Moshe, I'll pay you back. He doesn't know that I'm getting 1,000 points from this, or my credit card gives me more points, and I'm getting $20 out of this whole thing, not from his pocket, but from the service, from the
credit
thing.
card, yeah.
Still, he gets it, even if he doesn't know that he.
But I'm telling you, but smart Jewish guys, by the way, you're making points on the thing. Give me
$20 off. Give me $20 off.
I'm telling you, I've seen.
So sometimes, if
we used
it's
to
a
do
big
like
amount,
When I used to work for Gertex, when I used to thing, we used to book all the flights.
right?
So the owner just comes to points. At the end of the year, he goes, "Yeah, but look how many points you got." I'm like, "You're counting my money for you."
Right.
All of a sudden,
Right.
he was always banking it, and he
Right.
knew that we were getting points
Getting
on all the
points on
travel.
it.
You know, we booked like $50,000 a year of flights. We use our own credit card. We sell use your credit card. No, use yours. Use yours.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden, so I got the benefit
Right.
of using mine, right? And then he goes, but look how many points you got.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't work like that.
Jewish calculation.
Yeah.
No, girls, man.
Okay, so Rav Zera brings a
Nobody
pasuk.
knows about it.
So Rav Zera brings a pasuk to show the side that it goes. So the question originally was, Rav Yirmi asks him, the Torem, who gets the benefit? He says it's the guy that has the field. But this also has to do with, I think it also has to do with
So what's the
dot over
difference?
here.
I got to go back to the why. In the case of the
It's
money,
the,
it's the
I see
guy
the
that
second-
gets the points, and here it's the field.
So what I'm saying is that here there's a pasuk. There's a
What's a pasuk?
verse in the Torah. Where there's a verse in the Torah that's golden. So the verse in the Torah is comparing specifically by truma, specifically by field stuff, owner of the field.
When you say field, you're actually talking about the true
Field.
fields, because a lot of times
As a
they
field.
talk about one thing, but
right, it could be yes.
you
So in
know.
truma, it's talking about.
How do we
field
know they're
stuff.
really talking about the field here?
Well, that's the pasuk's talking. That's the case at hand over here.
Teruma is like you give it from your produce. So it has to be the field, like from the field.
Produce from something could also be
From
produced
this we derive that
good
the owner of
You
his
can
heat
derive it.
may give
but
truma to the kohen of his
like,
choice.
The basic meaning is
For
the
his
fruit.
is the benefit of gratitude. From this we derive that the owner of the heat may give the truma to the benefit, the kohen of his choice. For this is the benefit of gratitude. Okay, I thought that this is going to answer our earlier question. Maybe we'll see. Let's see further. I think this is going to answer the other question of, do you need his knowledge or not? Okay. I mean, that question we didn't have an answer for. And here we had a similar question, but we didn't, so we said it was the owner of the field, but we didn't prove if dot or not dot. Maybe we're off of that now. It's etive, a question on this teaching. This is a question again from our Mishnah in the case of a neder. Even though there's a neder, you could give it. You could do the truma leda'ato. What's leda'ato? Tovat hana'a debal hakari. If you say the tovat, so this is what we're proving things from. If you say there's the tovat hana'a, that extra benefit goes to the baal hakari, goes to the owner of the field. Hakamani, that he's benefiting, and we made over here a thing that there's a net you can't benefit from one another. Ela shmamina tovat hana'a adile. So you see, so it must be that the tovat hana'a. Now the Gemara wants to disprove that, because if the case is that there's a neder involved, then if there's a neder involved, then I can't benefit from, because what's happening here is Shimon, I'm the friend. He's the owner of the field, Reuven. I pay for him. We said, and then there's a $10 benefit. Who gets that? We just established from the pasuk that he gets it. But if there's a neder between me and him, then we're not going to benefit from each other. How could he get it? He's benefiting from me. I'm the one who gave the money. So the Gemara wants to say, well, maybe then you could prove from here that I get the money, I get the benefit, and not him. So we want to say from over here that maybe I get the benefit. So Amri, says the Gemara, Amri lo. No, maybe you could say no. Mishel bala kari al shel bala kari uledaato de bala kari. The Omer kol harotzeh litrom yavo v'yitrom. So no, we want to try refuting our case. We're not. This is basically the same Gemara as we just saw. You can't refute the case that way, because the case over here is that the same thing is that he was the one that gave it on his stuff with his knowledge, and he said, it was me that gave it. The Shimon that gave it. What did I give? I gave Reuven's stuff for Reuven's field. There was their knowledge over here. There was knowledge because he said whoever wants to do it could do it, and therefore I'm not benefiting from each other. I'm not benefiting from him because he said anyone that wants to do it could do it. So there's no issue of benefit over here, and therefore the rule remains according to Rav Zera from the pasuk that he gets the benefit. So it's not a question on Rav Zera. Tashma. The Amar Rabbi Avahu Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Avahu says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Hamakdish Mosif Chomesh. He said 3 laws. Hamakdish Mosif Chomesh, Umitkaper Oseh Temura, VaToreh Mishelo al She'eno Shelo Tovat Hana'ah Shelo. Rabbi Yochanan argues. We'll jump to his third case and we'll explain case 1 and 2. That Rabbi Yochanan, without a pasuk, where his sources I'm not sure, but without a pasuk, Rabbi Yochanan, there's a statement from Rabbi Yochanan that says, "Hatoreh mishelo al she'eno shelo." I take my stuff for Reuven, because that was the case of earlier. Who gets the benefit? I get the benefit. So we have a machloket, Rav Zera and Rav Yochanan. Rav Zera says that there's a pasuk that's very strong. Rav Yochanan doesn't have a pasuk. There's just a statement. Tashma, come here. A statement in Rav Yochanan. He said three statements. The third one is, if I do teruma from my stuff, al she'eno shel, on something that's not mine, on the Reuven, tovat hana'ah shelo, who gets the tovat hana'ah? It's me. So we ended off. So we like this. We had a question at the beginning. Can you do teruma with? Does it have to be with his knowledge, without his knowledge? We did not answer that. Then we had a second question. If I give my stuff for him, who gets that extra little benefit? Rav Zera says the owner of the field from a pasuk. Rav Yochanan says it comes from it's the guy that laid out the money. No proof. Now just to end, Rav Yochanan said 3 statements here. Hamakdish mosif chomesh, umitkaper oseh temura. What are those cases? Hamakdish mosif chomesh. Let's see the run. Second line down on the widest lines. Hamakdish mosif chomesh. Hamakdish be'emel korbano shel chavero. If I say this animal is going to be a korban for, I know my friend Reuven he owes a korban, I want to get this animal's for him. And now this animal got a mum, it got a blemish, and it's unfit for the Bet HaMikdash. Now I want to remove its kedusha from it and put it onto money. Let's say this thing was worth $100. I said, you know what? I know my friend he owes a korban to the Bet HaMikdash. I'm going to donate this. This is for Reuven's animal. This is for Reuven's owing. And then this animal broke his leg. It's unfit for the Bet HaMikdash. Worth $100. You know what? I want the kedusha, the holiness of this animal, to leave it and go to a $100 bill. And now I could reuse this animal for my own stuff. So, says the Gemara, says the Ran, Hamakdish karui ba'alim li'inyan shetzarich le'osif chomesh shabalim bilvad mosif chomesh. Okay, so what happens is like this. In general, let's say there's no Reuven in the story. There's nothing. In general, let's say I say this animal is going to the Bet HaMikdash. Then the animal breaks its leg. So it's not unfit, but it still has the holiness for the Bet HaMikdash. I'm allowed to remove its holiness and put it onto cash, and now use my thing. But when I do that, I have to add 20%. So it was worth $100. Now $120 has to go cash for the thing. That's only.
Can you put the holiness onto a different animal?
I think you can.
Accepts.
I think you can, but that's
Instead of putting the cash.
right. So I think only if it's unfit. Timura, both of them become. But I think if one was unfit, I think you could. But if it was not unfit, I think it gets stuck. But if it's unfit,
stuck. You don't need to do it.
No, if it's the holiness still remains.
But I'm just saying. But if it's unfit, if it's unfit, there's no problem with it. If the guy broke it, if the animal broke his leg, it's unfit.
Yeah,
there's no question. So
but it's still you could transfer.
Transfer.
Yeah, you could transfer. So yes, I'm pretty sure to another animal without this one retaining its kedusha. But one second. So now, basically, what we're saying is like this: an owner only. So an owner could remove that holiness, add 20%, and put it there. 1 second. That's the case of an owner. Now bring that back to our case. I say my friend Reuven, he's on vacation or he's down and out a little bit. I know he owes a korban. I'm going to get this $100 korban for him. My animal is for him. Then the thing breaks his leg. So you know what? I'm going to remove the kedusha, put it onto money, and release this. So an owner. Now, I'm the owner of this, but really I transfer ownership to Reuven for his korban. An owner, when he removes it, he has to add 20%. A non-owner, is it also like that? In this case, says Rav Yochanan, one of these three laws is like you're like an owner in this case, and you have to add the 20%.
You assume the responsibility.
You have to add the 20%. The second case is Hamitkaper Oset Temura, Klomar V'Inyan Temura Hazoche Ba Letzorach Korbano Karui Ba'alim Umatpis Temura Ba. Makdish lo, ובתרומה יליף למקראי. כלומר, אבל לעניין המתכפר עושה תמורה. כלומר, אבל לעניין תמורה, הזוכה בא לצורך קורבנו, קרוי בעלים. I think, so then when it comes to the laws of timura, where I think placing from one animal to another animal, then who's the owner for that? The guy that this animal was given for his kapara. So this animal was mine. I gave it to. I said, okay, it's going to go for the Bet HaMikdash for Reuven. Reuven somewhat is the owner also. That in the laws of Timura, if he wants to switch animal to animal, where they both now become holy, it's under Reuven's jurisdiction. If Reuven does that, it's not like, oh, Reuven did it, but Reuven could say, well, I'm not really the owner. It's really you, Shimon, that gave it to me. No, because this was meant for your kapara. You want to transfer it. You're like the owner. Where now both are going to be holy. That was the other halacha that Rav Yochanan said. Okay, that brings us to the 2 dots, and we will continue on Sunday.
I got a question. We discussed a few weeks ago about the 20%. It came up before
I
that.
want to keep it recording for you.
No, you don't have to keep it recording.
No? Okay.